Vaporwave News Network.
Hello and welcome to the Vaporwave News Network, a bi-weekly podcast about the contemporary vaporwave scene. We feature news, discussion, and current trends, as well as reporting on upcoming releases and events in the vaporwave, future funk, and adjacent communities. I'm your host, Alex, aka Trucks Passing Trucks. I run Pacific Plaza Records in addition to DJing and booking events over my past 6 years of being involved in the vaporwave scene. With this show, I'm hoping to fill a niche in the scene that I feel has been missing. A show that's covering the contemporary era of the vaporwave music and art movement. A show that strives to provide a wide variety of coverage in an easily digestible format. A show that acknowledges the history of the genre and makes connections between the past and current happenings in the vaporwave community. And I realize it will never be a completely comprehensive show, but I want to make it into a resource that newbies as well as seasoned scene veterans can tune into for a quick and robust update about what's going on, what's happening in vaporwave. So the show will happen twice a month to start with. I'm beginning this as a one-person operation, but I am looking for a co-host or part-time guest host that want to help out. And I'm hoping the community can help me fill in the gaps and provide some information and support through direct messages or the use of my Vaporwave News Network submission forms. So the submission forms have been set up for you, the listeners and members of the community, to help me. The show has a few main focuses: current happenings in the scene, events, shows, gigs, concerts, releases, and a main discussion topic or Q&A mailbag. So you can head over to our Linktree and you will find 3 submission forms. The link is in the show notes, and you can look it up on linktr.ee/Vaporwave News Network. There's currently submission forms for live events and shows, new releases, and general questions for the host about vaporwave, the current scene, and other mailbag type stuff. Okay, so from this part of our vapor world, signing off until next time.
Vaporwave News Network.
What's a hot take? So I have a hot take for you. My hot take? Well, I think some artists need to put a little more energy in their live set.
Overly complicated tracks are things that kind of ruin a track for me.
Don't stick to any kind of genre label.
Future bass is the worst music genre ever created.
Barber Beats was the original vaporwave. Fuck General MIDI Choir. It's all bad.
Bruh.
Worst album artwork I've ever seen is Green Day's Father of All Motherfuckers, probably.
I find new music often, and I usually illegally download it.
Stuff that sounds good. Sampleless vaporwave is still vaporwave, buddy.
MIDI wave is a form of vaporwave. Deal with it.
Gen Z's the future of vaporwave. I said it. What is your musical guilty pleasure, Vapebearer?
It's gotta be K-pop.
If you don't like mint chocolate chip ice cream, you are a baby.
Music isn't real.
I smell weed. I'm Dan Mason. This is Vape Eric.
This is FM Skyline.
This is Mesh.
Yo, this is Groovy Kaiju. This is Christ. You're listening to
Hot Takes.
That's the one.
Don't touch my records. Ever.
Welcome everybody to Hot Takes. It is I, young SHIRO, and say hello to everybody, Skelly.
Hello. Hi, guys.
Skeleton Lipstick and I have created a independent electronic music-based vaporwave talk show where we get to hang out with you and each other and a special guest every couple weeks, and we're so glad you guys are here. All of our regulars, welcome back, and all of our new first-time chatters, thanks for being here tonight. We are very excited about our guest tonight because he's been a long-term supporter of the show and a good friend to both of us, and the guy's got a lot of great taste in art and music, makes fantastic music himself, and has been involved in the music industry, so he's got a lot of expertise and a lot of experience. So we're particularly excited about bringing on our boy Luxury Noise tonight. But before the show starts and we get into our recs and takes, we want to just go ahead and remind everybody, any emotes you drop show up on screen. Any questions you have, drop them in the chat. we are actually going to try a new format tonight. Every question that is asked is going to be held and asked in the second hour of the show. That way we get to get some biographical talk and chat out of the way without interruption. And the second half of the show, we can go into user-submitted questions. Just something we're trying out that we hope everybody likes. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. We appreciate y'all's patience and grace with us as we try out this new format. And then just a reminder of the commands. We have the !follow command, where you can follow our socials as a show. !Skelly allows you to follow Skelly's show socials. !Shiro allows you to follow mine. !Discord allows you to jump into our public community Discord server, where we geek out about art and music and argue about silly things like fast food restaurants. Definitely recommend you jump in. Especially exciting tonight is the Spotify. We got a new playlist, courtesy of a previous guest, Sonovision Deluxe. Music that you've heard but never listened to. Some great tracks on the playlist. Go check it out, along with playlists by Bfant, Frank Javc, and another person who's escaping me at the moment. I'm sorry to that person if you're listening. Last but not least, !donate. All donations are.
Did he do a playlist?
Sonovision Deluxe did one. Who now?
Did Indy do one? Not
yet, but we definitely need one. I would love Indy Advant to send us a reggae playlist, or maybe like a pop punk playlist. But we'll get to that. Guys, you're welcome to donate. Donations are entirely optional, and they all go towards things like commissioning your friends, artists, to make things like visual art. We also have the a donation fund for things like what we have to pay in order to get things on podcasting services, etc., etc. Donations are optional, but they mean so much. So we appreciate it. If you guys feel led to donate, hit that !donate. We're going to go ahead and get started with some recommendations tonight, courtesy of Skeleton Lipstick.
Oh, hello. So, first recommendation I'm going to do is a vaporwave artist by the name of Corrupt Save. They have a new album out on Business Casual called Errata. I believe this just came out, but it's a very smooth album if you're looking for a nice combination of traditional sounding vaporwave, sort of, but with like a bit of a smoother, funkier edge to it as well. Very, very, very fun album that
just dropped, huh?
It just dropped. So really lots of really good smooth vibes on it. Say Goodbye I keep playing over and over again. The entire album just flows together pretty nicely and makes me think of being in a suite in the 1980s, but it's like a combination of a suite and a business office. Like I feel like I'm stuck between two worlds when I listen to it, whether I'm in like a corporate headquarters or I'm in a 1980s suite in the plaza. So it's a very interesting flow of these two contrasting vibes together, and works pretty perfectly. Okay. And if you're looking for some more traditional vaporwave, this is a pretty cool album to listen to. I like it a lot. Corrupt Save's new album Errata, so I'm going to go ahead and recommend that for my first rec. And for my next rec, I'm going to actually recommend this album on My Pet Flamingo by Monodrone called Forbidden Fruit. So this has kind of got a interesting Arbor beats sort of feel and vibe to it, but with a really like heavy drums and heavy beats to it that are really driving. Okay. So it's an interesting little push forward in the genre, and I really enjoyed it a lot. I like the song She Gets Me in High Income Slums a lot. But the album is, if you're looking for something that is in that world of barber beats type sounds, but kind of is like, I don't know, man, like I thought somebody on the Rex had sort of put some comparisons to like almost like as if DJ Shadow was doing a Barber Beats album, and I was like, that's kind of an interesting way of putting it.
That's a compliment for sure.
Because it's pretty gritty too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not like the beats are just sort of washed down and muted. They're pretty heavy. So I was pretty pleasantly surprised by this album. So
Monodrone.
Put Monodrone Forbidden Fruit as the other album. And then my last track is this album.
Thank you, Some Kind of Gangster.
This is a good one too. This one's really good. This is by It's Castro, and who's the one he did this with? Castro
it's that Detroit,
Decisive Koala.
that
What?
it's that Detroit Neo Hypertronica act
Castro
on Stratford. Stratford Court.
Yeah, Castro and Decisive Koala, the collaboration with Decisive Koala, that's a dope album, man. Getaway, that's one I've been putting on a lot lately. It's really fun because it's, how did you describe it again?
Detroit Neo Hypertronica. Have you not heard of this?
No, is that what this is called?
Yes. It's kind of like, you know the whole escape room thing?
Yeah.
It's like a meaningless tag, but, you know, it just kind of describes that genre-bending sound.
Yeah, because it's somewhere between.
They
like,
should have been
chill
using it
synth
like
and
10 years
vaporwave.
ago. Exactly.
It's somewhere between like chill synth and vaporwave. It's like a really interesting sort of meetup spot between these two types of vibes and these two types of drum patterns and these two types of grooves, basically, right? It's really interesting, and I'm kind of surprised I haven't heard more of this sort of thing before. I mean, I probably have, but this is really strikingly that. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna have to listen to it so I can.
It just came out, I think, but I've really been jamming this album a lot. Yeah, the Getaway. The whole album's really fun, but like you're right, like it is an interesting combination between that, between like the chill synth grooves and aesthetic, and then sort of like a traditional like what vaporwave's grooves and aesthetic would sound like, but like made with chill synth and like kind of married together in a very interesting way. So
Caspro Town's in chat right now. What's up, buddy?
Oh, he is? Good, man. Good to see you. I'm very cool album. Yeah, really
check it out
interesting, unique grooves on this thing. But like, yeah, I really enjoy. I like Casper already, but like this album is really fucking interesting. You know what I mean? And I don't hear too much else that sounds like it. And I'm kind of surprised I haven't because of how close together the people involved in the scenes are. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So like, I was surprised there isn't so much cross pollination. Isn't as much of this type of cross pollination. So interesting stuff, man. Like it's like I really liked it a lot. It's a Getaway by Caspro and Decisive Koala. Recommend that one as well.
Hell yeah, and Lux is here posting links, and Celadon's Dream Suite is as well. Thank you guys for helping out. All these links will be posted in the Discord server.
Yeah, I'd been keeping an eye on like Caspro's Instagram while I was making this album, and I already knew it was going to be kind of interesting. And it was, yeah. I really recommend
That's one thing I really appreciate you, bud. You've got your finger on the pulse of things at all times.
I do.
I try to do it, but like I have my feet in so many different scenes.
I tend to gravitate towards things, and then the things I gravitate towards seem to be pretty cool.
You tend to gravitate towards things.
I'm not actually like actively looking. It just happens.
I respect it. I want to talk tonight actually about genres and genre categorization. I don't think I've given this take before, but at this point, we're going to have to start doing user-submitted hot takes because I'm about out of hot takes. Halfway through the third season, I'm about out. But I think...
I did 3 Recs. 3 Recs Luxury.
You did do 3 Recs. Monodrone was the second one.
Yeah, and Corrupt Save was the first one.
My Pet Flamingo, right?
Yeah, and then Corrupt Save on Business Casual.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Definitely recommend you check those out because this man has great taste. That's why we're doing this. I think genre hyper categorization can be a little like impractical, but I do think that genre categorization to a point is really important. Now the Detroit Neo Hypertronic thing was a joke. That's a joke on just genre.
Like, oh, is that what you call this?
I mean, I don't claim to be very learned or knowledgeable about where genres originate. I'm still trying to get a feel for what certain things like how do you know if it's jungle or liquid drum and bass? How do you know if it's gabber or happy hardcore? I'm not even sure I really know what two-step or garage is. I just kind of know it when I hear it. But at the end of the day, I think genres, as annoyed as some people get, especially if they're an artist and they get like pigeonholed in a genre, like I've never been in those shoes, but I can see why it would be annoying. But I feel like they're very, very important because they help us to find other sounds that are similar to what we like. Right? Like if you say chill wave, synth wave, or chill synth, like anybody who's, I guess, in the know knows what you're referring to. You know, Robert Smith says necessary evil. I'll take that. Like if you had to describe shoegaze, it's like a paragraph. You know, like fuzzed out guitars, wall of noise, androgynous vocals. You know, that's a lot of time and effort when you could just have one word for it. right? Like shoegaze. Am I crazy? I don't think that you'll disagree, but I think genres are great. Now, calling something like mall soft, right, or like grocery wave, that might be a bit much. But is it? I don't know. I mean,
when is it over?
How do we decide? Like, eventually there might be like 100 albums.
You just say it and it happens.
There might be 100
and then
grocery wave albums.
If people like the way it sounds, then they'll do one too, because it'll seem fun. That's why people do genres, because they hear it and they say, that looks fun to try. I'm going to try that. And then they do it. And that's fine. I think that genres just happen no matter what, because people see somebody doing something fun and they want to do it too, because it's fun. And then they do it. They want to do their version of it. And that's a perfectly legitimate way to do this. Then there are some of us who don't know how to, can't do it. You know what I mean? Who can't like do something that fully fits in. And
I think genre bending is also bonus hot take. I think genre bending is like the ultimate like wizard experience. Like our own guest, we'll talk about that later, but has sent me things where it's like, what is this? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. And I think that's great.
I still have no idea exactly what kind of music I'm making. It's always different.
I don't either, dog. Honestly, you could actually work just fine in like an Indie-tronica playlist just as well as you would. Like, that's not a put down. I mean,
no, it's not.
You know, along with like EDM or vaporwave.
I don't know.
Anyways,
then I just finished. I'm almost done the next album too. And that's now also. I'm like 7/3 right of that. And that also sounds completely different than anything else I've ever made before. So like, it's completely different.
Can't wait to hear it. No electro swing playlists. No, thank you. Celadon Dream Suite. All right. Without further ado, because I know you guys are itching to see what our guest tonight thinks about our take. Again, very dear friend of the show, very skilled, talented musician. You may have seen him perform at the No Genki. What was it? Genki Land? Genki Town? I can't remember. It was the day after Electronicon. Luxury Noise is our special guest for tonight. Go ahead and unmute yourself, bud. Say hi to everybody.
Hello.
Hey, there he is. Genki Club Genki. Sorry.
Club Genki. Yeah, I was gonna pop in with that in a second.
What do you think about genres and what we had to say?
I mean, they're my genres, and I are having a hard time all the time because I can't. I see somebody. I love genres, and I will hunt things down because I'm constantly looking for like, oh, I need a collection of 20 things to put on while I jam out at work, and so I love to find it, but then like I'll be like, oh yeah, I would like to do a genre, and I will go at it, and somewhere along the way I get caught up in my stupid bullshit, and then I don't know what to do. And I send you a track, and I say, "Hey, what is this?" And
like I'm the arbiter of genres or something.
Just because you get around, and I'm always like hoping somebody will be like, "Oh, Paul, you would fit in on this island of misfit toys," and it doesn't happen. So I just I'm always. I'm always hunting for some way to figure that one out, because like I want to do lo-fi house, but then everything I do ends up luxury noised, that kind of thing.
We are going to ask the chat to run up those questies, bestie, but we're going to save them all for the second hour. So anybody who says anything, I'm just going to make a note of it, and if I forget your... Yeah, that was stupid. I'm sorry. If I forget your question...
No, I really liked it. That's great.
By the way, if you're tuning in...
We're going to say that in every episode now. Run up those questies, besties.
What the hell is that question quiz? Anyways, if you're tuning in via a streaming service, many people have been complimenting Luxury Noise's lights behind him. You want to tell us a little bit about that before I give the floor to Skelly?
To shoot my... my Helios set this week, and so
sick.
It's a bonus feature that I actually just finished setting up. All my effects need real light to work, so I got new lights.
I got you.
Because bigger, better, summer. And
It's
thanks,
pretty
I'm
cool.
glad everybody likes it. I like it too. And I
they're
like
like
it
rainbow
frames
lights
me.
that change. And yeah, he's like almost perfectly symmetrical.
I got a good little halo.
I've got
in
him
front of
cropped
me.
pretty good, but he's in a pretty empty room with just the lights, and it has a very cool effect on his white walls.
And that was the other thing. I do a lot of conference calls all day, and the people at work had been complaining about my white walls, so I'm going like completely over the top for tomorrow's conference calls just to.
Actually, I'm going to change the cropping so people can see the lights above you. But let me remind everybody, please don't hold back on questions. We are going to ask them. We're just going to wait until the top of the hour. The first hour is going to be purely biographical because we've gotten a lot of great feedback from the like technical questions. People like to hear about hardware and production, and they like to get to know our guests. So with that said, I'm going to change the way you're cropped and let you rip, Skelly.
All right. Well, so luxury noise. First things first. How did you get involved with making music? What do you start with? What did you always play with production, or were you an instrument guy first?
Definitely started as an instrument. So when I was a kid, I had a tape deck, and I got really obsessed with taping back and forth and doing things. I got this one, and then I got another tape.
You were playing around with collaging tapes and stuff. Is this correct?
Yeah, and I had one
Nice.
that had a TV built into it.
What made you want to
That's
start
fucking
doing that? How did that click? That you were like, oh, I can collage tapes. Did you hear an artist do that, or were you just like, why? This is the thing I have in front of me. How can I make something? How can I use it creatively?
I was always convinced that like nobody was telling you everything your technology could do. So when I had a TV that had a cassette attached to it, I was like, surely there's a way. What I figured out was that it could record the TV with a really great direct signal, and I was like, well, that's new. And so then I could screw with bouncing things. You know, I had like one of those speaker with a microphone cassettes, and then I had the other one, and I would just make it. It's not anything I would ever pull out and be like, you guys need to hear this. Well, when I was a kid, I was a genius. It was really stupid stuff, you know, and like Roseanne meets Webster level of
so it was
editing.
kind of like funny, like it was expressing your sense of humor then.
If it's like fan fiction, even like I don't even know if I was
Roseanne
funny.
meets Webster was your fan fiction.
It was. I just liked TV. I still love TV. You know, like we're very television obsessive in this house, and I was obsessed with it. There are episodes of TV that I would record on audio that I would put on when I'd go to sleep. I'm dating myself, but you know, we didn't have, you know, necessarily playback technology. So any playback when I was very young was very exciting, even if it was a cassette of a TV show. I just like that idea of saving it. And then my parents, so my mom played piano, my dad played the drums, and I was learning piano badly, and my mom couldn't really teach me a whole lot, and I did high school band. And then my parents got divorced, and my mom started seeing a guy who became my new stepfather, and he was a musician. And so he came from like the Macon scene, like Spyro Gyra, C-Level, Allman Brothers kind of background of music. And so a lot of like jazz people were around when I was a kid. So eventually, for some reason, I decided I was going to play guitar badly to piss all of them off instead of like enjoying, you know, like all of these
the punk rock
geniuses
approach.
that I was. You're right. It was totally. I just like I was like, oh, it's time to do some Sex Pistols covers and be god awful, you know, and that was sort of the first really like striking out, like, I'm a musician, I'm gonna go to the mall and smoke cigarettes and have to be chased out of the food court by security. But you know, that was
unreal.
I used to hang outside the mall and stuff like that when I was a young teenager as well.
The mall was like, I feel like it's a generational like tell.
They do that anymore? When did they stop?
It was like
doing
the only
that?
place my parents were cool with me hanging out, where they
Well, it was
like
the
didn't
suburbs
know
too.
where
Like,
I
where
was.
else were you supposed to? Yeah, where else? Me too. Where else were you supposed to go? At least you could like walk around and you'd run into other people there. There'd be the different cliques and subgenres of mall kids. You know what I mean?
It's
Shout out mall employees.
Dying. Yeah.
Was this the 90s for you?
Oh yeah.
Were you more of like a Walden Books guy or like an FYE guy?
See, I knew 2 girls who worked at the Camelot Music Store. And
Oh,
they would give
Camelot
us
Music,
gift
gotcha.
cards. So we were down there a lot, and then we knew some girls who were at the Hello Kitty store, so we would hang out.
Oh, there was
there.
a Hello Kitty store.
Yeah, it was
So
very.
is
big.
Camelot Music the like brand you kind of came up with for like
If I
where
had
you
to-
went to your music? Where you went to your music? Where you went
My
for your music
first
needs?
record store was a Turtles, like Turtles, the yellow
Turtles.
and very 70s brand.
Gotcha.
But that was like the first place like I really identified. Camelot and Record Bar at the mall. Those were my big, like, by the time I was old enough to be like going and walking, you know, back when you had to pay for records and you would sort of like pace around a record for a few times before you'd actually buy it. Yeah, you're like, I've been looking at that.
Everything, you see what else
Yeah.
is there. What was the first really big record that you bought there? Like, oh, this is awesome. That was like yours. Like, this is my taste. This is awesome.
I honestly, you know, it was Thriller. Like that was like the first record
That's a
that
good
I had
one.
like a serious bond with, where I was just like, I don't know, and I over-identified as a kid with Paul McCartney because my name was
Interesting.
Paul, and
Oh,
that
there you
was
go.
intentional by my dad. He loved Paul McCartney. So then, like, when they're singing on "The Girl Is Mine," I'm like, "You get that girl, Paul. Even though you're married, you know, I think you got this one. I think you're gonna take it." And because it was like a duet with an argument, and it was just a good record. And then and then I didn't really, music was kind of like a weird thing where I would latch on to whatever my parents were into, but my parents were really cool, so they would bring home the latest records. My dad would go out on a Friday, and it was like, it was like a thing he did that sometimes my mom would bitch about, kind of thing. But it was they also both loved the giant record collection. He would just go out and he'd come home with a clutch of 15 records or 15 CDs or whatever it was at the time. So we just always had stuff to listen to, and it wasn't until years later that I started being like, I'm buying my records, and then it was all punk rock into The Cure kind of stuff.
Nice. That's cool that your parents had good taste in music.
They were way cool.
I don't know that I've ever picked up any recommendations from my parents, and I'm jealous of people that did.
Yeah, I never really did either. So when did you start actually? Like, okay, so you were making little tape collages, then you got your guitar. Did you play in any bands? Did you write any music?
Yeah, so I sucked straight through high school. I sucked bad. I had a lot of like discussion bands, a lot of idea bands.
Yeah,
bands,
we all
that
those
kinda
bands.
shit. Yeah, and then I went to UGA, and I met up with this guy, and I had met up with him in high school, and he had been like the first person who showed me a drum machine.
Oh, that's it. Wow. What drum machine was this?
It was the one he had was DR660, the first one that I like laid my hands on.
Oh, no way.
And so I went over to his house, and he let me play with that shit, and I was like, what the fuck, you can
That
make-
must have been a fucking aha moment right there.
Oh, it was very large. And then he and I worked together for a little bit at Office Max, and we got up to hijinks together, and we realized we liked each other. And the first day I was at UGA, I ran into him, and we went up to his dorm room, and there he had an R70, and that was when I don't know, that was that thing. I sat down on it and I programmed my first song, just sitting there in that dorm room, in like a headphone zone, and it got me like, oh yeah, I need to make stuff with synthesizers. And so
the
then
R70
I started.
is a really cool, like all-purpose, like drum machine digital sampler. That thing is really dope.
That pitch strip, I
Yeah.
mean, that thing was responsible for a lot of 90s genres.
It was.
Damn.
That thing is so cool. And it's like when you get to play with one of those things, like you just see like the power of like, whoa, this is beyond normal instrumentation. Like I've reached through like the glass and I've entered some other world. I didn't even know this was available to me. You know what I mean?
And it was like you're
That's
like
really cool.
like a little LCD screen about that big, but it just felt like there was this whole world through it, and it was very distracting from
that's
my
a really
studies.
interesting. That's a great way of talking about it. It's this tiny little LCD screen with like this.
Damn, I want to
like,
play with that.
Digital fucking calculator, and yet belies an entire universe of ideas and parameters.
That's
from
why
which
I
to
love
extract
electronic music.
Weird noises. You know what I mean? It's really a crazy aha when you're like, "There's more I can do," and you're like, "I'll never figure everything out."
And he was like, yeah, and we can make him talk. And so he was the guy who kind of, and I had like older keyboard players around, and they're like, yeah, MIDI. I'm like, okay. But having like somebody my age say it, I was like, okay, now hang on, what? Tell me, slow down, science fellow. And so we started.
Hello.
We started figuring.
And they started saying
shit
that to
out.
people when they speak. Slow down, science.
Slow
hello.
down, science fellow. Yeah.
In English, nerd. Come on,
Nerd.
Einstein.
All right, wait. So anyway, so that's really cool. So he's showing you what to do with it, and then what happens?
Well, then we started a band. It was called Resistance. We had big plans. Everything was gonna happen. And one day I came in, and he had all my shit packed up for me. And it was like, you know what, man? I'm gonna do this by myself.
Oh no!
Yikes.
No, this is the best fucking thing that ever happened to me. Because
I bet it didn't feel that way at the time.
No, at the time it was soul crushing because the guy who knew how to do everything had quit the band. So I was just a dumbass again. You know, like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, Ryan
that's
showed me he could turn on the drum machine. I could make a song. It's fantastic.
Guy who
But I didn't know how to
anything, quit the band. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't network shit. I didn't know anything about SMPTE. I didn't know anything. And what it made me do was I dove into my sequencer and I became this person who learns gear ridiculously thoroughly and learns how it all talks. Wow. And that ultimately became like, that fucking shirt rocks.
Somebody in chat said something about it. Thank you. It's a Miami Vice shirt.
Became my job-ish, in a way. So it was really valuable for me. And then I had a whole Guitar Hero fucking thing. I was living in Athens. It was the late 90s, and I wanted to be in Radiohead like everybody else. So
Computer had come out, and then they were going to do Amnesiac. I was in Athens.
Revolutionary.
So
I got my guitar shit, and I screwed around again for a few more years, and I didn't seriously like hit a stage with my own project at any point until probably the early O's. And then things, I don't know. Then after that, the Band-Aid was ripped off, and every time I would just come back at whatever I was doing, and it was new. And ever since then, I've been doing bands or whatever or work, pretty much. Yeah.
So when did you feel like you found what your sound was, or the first time you figured out like, this is kind of my sound, this is like the synthesizers I'm using, this is the noises I'm using, I feel comfortable saying this is a cohesive thing?
Saturday? I mean, So the thing that made me start releasing music seriously as Luxury Noise was honestly just that I was home during the pandemic.
Ooh.
And
Are you and Passion?
we were all hanging out.
Shout out
hanging
Coast to
out in the
Coast.
chat. Shout out to Patch Notes, shout out to everybody in Coast to Coast.
Well, just because he said the same thing. It's like it was quarantine time.
Yeah, and we were all hanging out, Big Stream Chat was Big Stream Chat felt like there was a point I can remember where that just felt like the biggest part of every week. And
I do remember that.
That's how you met each other. How did you discover? Okay, then let's back up for 1 second before we get to when you get into this Luxury Noise. All right, fine. How do you find George Clanton or Vaporwave?
I want to know this too.
And this is broken. And I'm gonna touch on a thing that I know we'll come back to, but I had been touring with of Montreal, and
You've been touring with Of Montreal.
Yeah, as I did crew work with
Oh yeah,
them.
I don't think Skelly knows this.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
So yeah, I used to tour doing. I used to tour playing guitar in some bands, and then with the biggest act that I ever worked with, I ended up I was their LD, and then I was an on stage. If you ever saw of Montreal and there was a referee doing weird shit on stage, the referee was me.
Oh, wow.
Wouldn't you like come up there at the very beginning and go like this, like it spread your arms? Was that you?
I would stop Michael and David from having. Yeah, they would be wrestling, and they would. When we did the wrestling luchador tour, that was I caught them. There's actually really fantastic shot from Primavera in 2011 of me, and they like both hit me so hard my hair flies up, so I look like a mad professor.
How was it touring with them? Was it good? Was it a fun time?
It was. I was in at a very exciting time.
You said Primavera sound and everything. Wow.
Yeah, it was a big time. So I wasn't there for Skeletal Lamping. I came in right during the sort of end of all of that, and in the transition before all of the band members shifted around, and I came in right as they were about to head out on the road with Janelle Monáe and do the False Priest tour. So Kevin had just done all the John Bryan. It was Pitchfork everything everywhere all the time, and it was like around the time that there were just like lots and lots of famous people around all the time whenever you would do the show. And it was a really cool time, and got to go everywhere with them, except I did opt out of a show in Singapore one time because I was reading about Singapore and how easy it is to get in trouble there, and I was like, fuck that noise. Like, I pictured myself like getting drunk, putting a cigarette out somewhere, and having an international incident. I was like, nope.
That's hilarious.
Didn't go to that, but
were they all nice? Was everybody in the band very nice to you? Or was it a fun time?
It's like a
the questions that really matter. Were they nice?
Were they nice people? It's just like when we were talking to Hotel Pools.
I would like to know this too.
You know, he was like Lady Gaga as a class act. She was lovely.
Yeah.
And called him to check on his dog.
I do remember that.
Yeah, he still has.
When you're on the road with, I think the False Priest tour
he wants you to talk shit about some people.
No, I want to hear. I want to hear them being good people. I want to hear validation.
I know, I'm
that
joking.
Nice and kind.
I do too. I think we all do.
It was 19 people.
Not like anyone else talking about how
fucking
like
what?
Weekend or
Damn, polyphonic spree.
Well, for that tour, because we had extra stage actors, we had a prop lady, and this, not even counting Janelle and Janelle's crew. So it was a large crew. So you don't you don't catch everybody on their best day all the time when you go out for a couple of months at a shot and you drag everybody halfway across America, jump on a plane to go to Europe, come back and do the other half of America all in like a three and a half month span. Like one day I had a crazy meltdown.
Really?
So everybody has their days.
Yeah, that's understandable.
The whole way I even ended up working with them was that they were nice people. Everybody was wonderful, and I came in and the band that I was with, it was after Jamie had left, so it was Kevin, Dottie, BP, Davey, Clayton Ricklick, Thayer Serrano, Nicholas Dobratz. It's big, and
these are not real names.
Kishibashi. This was when Kishibashi came on too.
Oh, nice.
When he started, he was called Kaoru. And the name Kishibashi actually came from shortening on lists and paper of just K Ishibashi, and we would write Kishibashi, and then Kevin started being like, "Hey Kishibashi," and that just became a thing.
That's stuff, man.
So,
what was your nickname?
I was Lonely Paul because we went and did this thing in Jackson, Michigan. And it was this weird festival that somebody was throwing, and I don't think they really actually had the budget sorted out, and things went sideways all over the place. But the night we got there, Clayton was supposed to be my roomie, and because he wasn't, they were like, da-da-da-da's in room, da-da-da-da, because Michael would send out, the tour manager would send out all the stuff and be like, this is where everybody is. And he's like, and Lonely Paul's in room, whatever room I was in. Referring to that, and then like everybody just like ran with that, and so it was Lonely Paul. And so I would get like, during the time I was working for them, people would like DM me weird shit. How lonely are you, Lonely Paul? kind of
So
creep,
freaking weird.
creepy shit.
So
But,
funny. Well, that sounds like really fun. Sounds like a really fun little experience. Well, very colorful stuff.
I got and it's if anything, like there's stuff like going to Primavera where you're just like, man, I'd like to do that every year.
Yeah, I
which,
bet.
so like hearing about George and them going, I'm like, ooh, exactly.
Right.
But who knows?
All right, so I guess how does this lead to you getting into vaporwave and George and everything?
So I came home in 20. I don't know. And there was a 6-month gap, and there was no tour, and I didn't have enough money, and I had just been through this summer thing where like a long gap of being somewhere longer than I had planned to cost me a lot. And when you're touring, you don't, all of your money is like this ball, and it's like depleting, and then you've got your next tour over here, and that's when you'll get more money. And so I was just sort of freaking out about money, and finally I just got I got in the want ads, and there was an ad, and it was they were looking for a web developer, must love dogs, and I ended up taking a job that became me being a marketing director for a company called Unique Squared that used to sell DJ gear. And so I was getting this completely skewed version of like music and everything. But one day, for whatever reason, probably 2013 or 14, I found some Esprit.
Oh.
And
Nice.
Esprit. and I locked in on that. I was like, well, that's weird.
Yeah.
Conveniently, around that same time, I heard of you for the first time on like a new retro wave playlist.
Oh, me, Skelly Lipstick.
Oh, sick.
Yeah,
that's
it
right.
was Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's right. That's one of my songs. That was on the new. Yeah.
You were on a new
And
retro wave. Nice.
They posted me a few times back in the day. They posted Real Time Lover as well on that back in the day.
It helped confuse people like me because I hadn't been plugged into what was going on. So like I knew about that.
I'm sure you knew about like Com Trues and shit.
I found George. Yeah, I was all on Com Trues.
How fun that you heard of me back in the early days. How fun.
It was, and two, I was still doing some DJ shit at that time. So I was getting I was rating blogs all the time for stuff to throw on my playlist so that I wouldn't be weak, and I was getting real tired of shit. Damn. This was right when EDM was starting to take over and sort of chase everybody out of having a good time. And that's my take.
I was having a good time.
I was not having a good time with EDM. It just seemed like going to the gym, and I didn't like it. So, but and so I found. And the third thing that I found, and I think this is what cemented my Spotify algorithm so that then it just sort of fed me for years before I realized Vaporwave was real people who I could just go meet. And I found Lux. I found Luxury Elite, and it was huge because that's where I found 18 Karat Affair. And,
shout out.
And it just all sort of like Spotify's like, oh, this guy likes this shit, we're gonna give him this, and I'm just sitting there playing Destiny. We had moved to Colorado at this point for my job, and I didn't have any friends or anything out here. So
Lonely
Morgan
Paul.
works in the news, so she was just always at the station. So I'm just sitting at home listening to Vaporwave, and I found that big Vaporwave playlist with the Pepsi drinker. And that got me through that sort of fed everything. So then by the time the pandemic rolled around, we were all going to the chat, and George kept being like, you can do it. And I was like, why am I not doing it? Because the whole reason I got off tour really was because one day I was in Norway and I was looking at this fucking house. We'd been in Bergen, Norway. It was summertime. We were on this leg until we were supposed to go to Barcelona. And I think we were just going to Barcelona to then leave. I still can't remember why this worked out this way. But I was in Norway for so long, I actually called the accountant and was like, hey, I need more money.
Nice.
And
Power play.
And she was helpful. because fish and chips was like $24, you know, like at a pop.
Sheesh.
So and so it was.
And this
just
was in the
like, 'cause the crowd-
2000s.
Yeah, no, this is in the 2010s at
Okay,
that point.
so like
but
early 2010s though.
Kroner beat the hell out of the dollar, and it was just rough on the old wallet. So anyway, I'm walking around this place. There's 2 hours of darkness a day, and I've been in there. And my roommate, he's decided he's never fucking going on tour with us again, and he's just done with everything. And he's been going through a lot of stuff. So he's in there. He won't put on clothes. He's just walking around the room in his underwear. He's got all the curtains drawn. It's starting to get kind of a funk going in our room. So I'm just walking
gross.
around. I'm walking around.
Yeah.
Bergen all day.
This is
And-
crazy. This is crazy. Your origin story is just crazy. Keep going.
And so I'm standing in front of this house, and I'm like, oh man, I'd love a little house like that up on a hill like this, out here in a place like this. And I looked at the price. It was a $1.5 million house after the exchange. Just a tiny little shotgun shack in Bergen, Norway. But you know, it's Norway, and everything's very expensive there.
Apparently, I had no
I
idea.
can only
Now I
imagine.
know. I did not know that.
They have a very high gross national product and very high standard of living, and they do. I think it's similar to the Swedish thing with like the national profit sharing in the GMP. So like everybody works because it supports the economy. Everybody gets a little bit out of it, but the value on all of that stuff is high. But it's very pretty, and their water is very nice. So. You know, and anyway, so I was going crazy drinking glacier water. I decided I was going to go home, and most of all, I decided that it was crazy to me that I was not making enough money, but I was doing it all for the sake of traveling around the world to show somebody else's art off. Not because I didn't believe in their art and it wasn't good, but I felt like I'd gotten like way the fuck off the path.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
was like, I'm going to go home. And I'm gonna get a job maybe. And it was still probably another 2 months, 3 months of tours that I was already booked for before that became real. And then one day I walked off a Yip Deceiver tour, and that was pretty much the last date I did on the road. And I did a couple of more things with Up Montreal in town, and that was it. And I moved on and got that job. So there's a lot of tangents to all these stories.
No, this
but,
is fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying your yarns.
That's why we chose you.
So then I went and worked for Unique Squared and did all of that stuff. And it was a lot of DJ marketing videos and like synthesizer stuff. There's some old Electron videos. There's some weird shit. And when you have a job like that, people say awesome things to you all the time. I guarantee it, because it's awesome to be on YouTube in front of people talking about gear. They treat you really well. And so I got I was doing music at that point, and I was doing a lot of really Calm True's influence stuff because he was so hot at that point. And he was using like big old synth gear, so you could get your new Electron box and get your Arteria synth and do a synth demo that kind of did all that stuff and had those break beats, and people be like, yeah man, I want to sound like Calm True. So it was good for sales,
Right.
And doing something on a channel that wasn't doing EDM to move gear. And so that was kind of like all the stuff that I was doing, but then gradually like the Vaporwave thing, I had fallen into that, and once I moved out here and wasn't doing the Unique Squared shit, I just started thinking about doing my music again. And so I did there was one of those stupid data mining photos that's like your birth date plus your something equals your something, but this one was your Vaporwave band name. And I did it, and mine was, and this, you know, if anybody's a resourceful reverse data miner out there, mine was Luxury Noise. And I was like, well, that's funny because, you know, I'm here making music that I'm finally getting around to making because I went home from a tour to have nice things and buy myself a house. So Luxury Noise seemed appropriate, and Luxury Elite was my inspiration for wanting to do it. So then I got that name and I kind of ran around with it. And then finally during the pandemic, George was like, if I can do it, you can do it. And I was like, why am I not doing music? What's going on? So I made Synodream just to push myself to do it. I was kind of hoping everybody would chase me out of town so I could just stop making music. But then people were really nice about it. And I made a bunch of friends. Yeah.
I do love how
one of
supportive
either
the
two
scene
ways.
is.
Either they'll kill it and be like, "Fine, I know I can't do it," or we're gonna make some friends, and it ended up as the latter rather than the former.
And you never know. Oh, and it's huge shout out to Chillwave Kittens because that's where like the whole like patch notes, device off, all the people in the like original outset versions of Coast to Coast. It really was kind of it was like a friend gang from the holdovers of Chillwave Kittens server.
Nice. Shout out Chillwave Kittens.
We all met over there. Yeah.
I remember we were streaming at the same time as Chillwave Kittens for a little while, and I feel like he like knew this, and so there was like a little friendly like rivalry kind of thing going on. And Chillwave Kittens actually lived in a little town on the outside of Vegas called. I hope this is okay to mention. I actually probably shouldn't say, but anyways, he didn't live too far from me. But we never got to meet up, unfortunately. And he's definitely a stand-up person. Very great sense of humor. Very skilled individual with social media.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't talked to him in a couple of weeks, but I regard Max as a close friend. And
it's been awesome to see his arc. Like he's getting all of the W's right now, and I'm really happy for him. I don't know him super well, and I wish I could have like met up with him IRL before I moved. But great guy to have in your corner.
He's looking good.
He is, man. He's looking real healthy.
I might clip that shit.
He's had a rough time of it, so I'm really glad to see him getting all these W's.
No, I'm super hyped for Max. So
he deserves it.
I have a lot of friends where like if we don't check in with each other every damn week, I assume we're all okay, and we'll pick up where we left off. That tends to be the only kind of friendship I'm really capable of maintaining. Besides,
well, I mean, when you're all our age or older, it's definitely tough. We're busy, especially you two. You guys are probably busy as hell.
Right now this week is insane. I have a trade show next week. I need to do my set for Helios this week. I think I saw Ming Curry in the thing. Ming Curry.
Yeah, Ming was here for a minute. Shout out Ming Curry. That Helios event is going to be a beast. Shout out Strips. I feel like I'm saying too much. I know Strip Silence is working on it too, and I know he's been working real hard, so it's going to be good.
At least we're not doxing nobody. We're not doxing anybody.
I'm always scared I'm going to say some shit I'm not supposed to say. But anyways, it's going to be good.
Yeah. I'm
okay,
excited
so
about
we
that.
now know how you discovered Vaporwave, and we know how you decided to start like making Vaporwave. Well, how did you... Did you find the scene? Or do you feel like the scene found you? I hope you haven't answered that already, but like we've worked with a lot of people, right? But like we've worked with a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, I hung out with the synthwave people for a while, but it just didn't, it didn't work out or whatever. Like
you hung out with Montreal for a while, and then found this.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, like
it sounds like the first scene. Is this the first scene you got involved in? Like really, actually,
like what I wonder. That's what I wonder.
Musically.
Like, did you pick
In
this
terms
scene,
of,
or did
like,
it?
I chose this.
Okay.
And it's funny because I don't know that I've really ever been like, here is a Vaporwave record from Luxury Noise.
Right.
But this was my people. This was what I identified. And I've been thinking a lot about it. Like, what's the deal with Vaporwave? Why does it draw in like a me as well as, a lot of other adjacent folks? And I think you remember, so when Comtrues, when Comtrues was like the big thing, it was like Comtrues and an endless recycling. Like, I love Boards of Canada and I love Aphex Twin. They are welded to my DNA. I cannot escape them. I will listen to Aphex Twin on Christmas. Like, that's a perfectly normal fucking thing to do. I think, like that's part of who I am. And
Somebody clip that.
And
You can't listen to this. It's Christmas.
It's a perfectly fucking
Turn off the
what you're
skeleton
doing. I'll have
lipstick.
No one tell me
the
anything
song's
different.
called Avril.
Yeah.
But
Turn off Come to Daddy. You're scaring people.
Such a commanding
everything
attitude.
got into that point where it was like you were them, or you were Venetian Snares, or you weren't shit.
Yeah.
Like it was like there was a big middle-aged gate force that had just like sort of descended around what was supposed to be the progressive genre. And I think like vaporwave, I think vaporwave adjacent is because the inevitability of vaporwave was that you can't have that happen to a new emergent art form for too long before something is going to organically just evolve to drive around it. And I think that like that was sort of like what I was witnessing. Was like, this is like a young electronic music thing that's not a bunch of old people standing in the way of everybody.
Yeah, well,
and
we all
Damn.
were like, one of Tricks Point Never says you can do whatever you want.
Nice.
Like
And-
that was a big thing for all the early vaporwave people, was we chose that person as the patron saint.
Man, whoever
Yeah.
would have saw him, like, I don't know if you remember in the early 2010s when he was just kind of making like Russian Mind and stuff. Like, I had no idea he was going to be blowing up like he has now. Like, if you had to have me, or like Eve Toomer, like I would have never guessed like Teams and One O Tricks Point Never would be like the most successful people.
When I heard One O Tricks Point
Quote
Never,
unquote
I was,
successful.
and I heard all the side projects and different ways that he did stuff too. You know what I mean? It wasn't just Russian Mind. Then he would do, you know, obviously like Replica, and then he would do the game side project or the Ford Notepad side project.
But like I remember in the early 2010s,
he was just doing whatever
like,
he
before
wanted,
that
and
shit.
Every album started to sound different, and every idea was different, and it also had a big sense of humor too. There's a sense of humor in One O Tricks Point Never, and a sense of the idea of like the anxiety of technology and like weird philosophical things behind it. It was just a lot going on. You know what I mean? Like that was like when I first heard One O Tricks Point Never, I'm like, well, this is my guy. Like this is my guy this is the one who sees the world the way that I do.
I feel that, and I love One O Tricks Point Never. I just like didn't expect
more so than any other electronic
I just didn't
artist.
see that happening, you know.
No, I didn't either. But like more so than any other electronic artist I'd ever heard in my life, that was the guy who was like, okay, this is kind of like spooky, but also kind of funny, but also kind of like using nostalgia, but also kind of like playing with like ideas because of the idea of playing with ideas, and also kind of melodic. You know what I mean? But just weird.
Yeah.
But when it gets too melodic, let's make it weird. You know what I mean?
Well said.
Do you think when it comes to like finding that person, like how much do you think your particular nostalgia like factors into that? You know,
One O Tricks Point
That's
Never?
a great question.
It was the idea of the future also becoming nostalgia. Like the idea that everything will become nostalgia and gets like rotted away. So like all things become nostalgia. To me, nostalgia was just another paintbrush to use to put towards weird ideas and anxiety about what the future will be.
Damn. Future shock. All right, I'm
But
going to go grab another drink.
I don't hold anything too precious personally.
Get some more good questions in before we start doing user submitted questions.
Well, I want to get to your music production style though. So what do you use to make your music? Since you've got so much background in gear, you've got so much background in working with musicians and working in the industry, how do you choose to produce your music?
I do as many things that I was told were wrong as possible. I pretty much do everything in Ableton. I did briefly do a couple of tracks in Logic from November to December, and then realized it was not my cup of tea and went back to Ableton. And I was doing everything all with plugins. But over the past few months, I've gone on a synthesizer spree again. Because I figured out that synthesizers hardware was not my problem. What my problem was that I need really capable. I need my envelopes to do certain things. I need the mod matrix to go a certain way. So I got some expensive synths. So now I'm kind of back into not that expensive, like a sequential Take 5, a Novation Peak, ASM Hydro Synth, and a Electron Syntact are the things.
That's a lot. And you just plugged in there. That's a lot. Which one's your favorite?
I really like all of them. I keep coming back to the Take 5 because it's weird. It's underappreciated. Nobody marketed it like this, and maybe logically because it's a VCO design, but for me it handles like a VCO Juno, and so especially because it's got like a filter amp marriage section on the envelope stage, and I just love it, and so I really like that. But I also really like the Hydrosynth, and I like all the wavetables and all the weird shit you can do with the new synths.
How's the Hydrosynth?
The Hydrosynth is cool as shit. It's got the mutants section, and the
Yeah.
mutant you can basically you can do FM or wave doubling or
That's really cool.
sync marriage.
The
You
mutant
can do
standard,
there's-
if you will.
there's a phase synthesis type there, and you can do all those things, and then you still get 5 envelopes to play with and 5 LFOs to play with. You can assign them to everything. You can assign LFOs to other LFOs. It's wild. And then it's got like an oscillator engine, and then it's got the whole wavetable thing, and all the wavetables come in families of 8.
Thank you, Roche.
And then you can take a family of 8 wavetables, and you can set, or you can mix and match wavetables, and then you can have it scan between all of them all the time. This is what I mean. This is what I do with my gear. I dig into all of that stuff, and I get really nerdy with it. But yeah, I really like it. And so, and in my studio, what I do for electric noise stuff is basically get lost in all of my synthesizers, realize that there's too many notes, and then I start sampling stuff and doing breakbeats, and then finish the song. Device operator can tell you the truth about the process because he ends up seeing a lot of early renditions of things, and so does Patch Notes and Soft Replica. So they can be like, he's full of shit, is what they can say. But that's pretty much how I work, and I just sort of I chase after something until I get confused, and then usually I pile everything up. I don't know how everybody else works, but I pile up a whole lot of more than I need, and then I just start cutting it all out. Yeah, the music is the space between the notes, man. And I just start cutting everything out and trying to find like new melodies. And I don't really think that I can write music. I think that I'm more of like there's like people who are like generators and there's people who are reflectors, and I think I'm a reflector. So my ideas are usually I stitch together a bunch of music stuff that I know, and then my idea actually happens like once everything's in the pot. And you start, it's like a slow, like more of a slow sauce than like I showed up and I knew exactly what the fuck I was gonna do.
I think you're really good at like creating a vibe and then just adding lots and lots of really interesting parts to like change the vibe and make it a little more interesting. And then like it's over before you know it, and you're like, damn, I wish that like I want to do that again.
I love that description. That's what I mean. That's what I want people to listen to the record, and I mean especially with the new one that I'm working on, trying to finish up this week, in fact, but I want people to put it on and get through some great task, and later on be like, I had a really good time doing that task.
Yeah,
listen to electric noise, and then come back.
It took the edge off.
Yeah, and be like, next time they've got a task, I want them to be like, luxury noise is good for that task, and put it back on.
Luxury noise is good for
that
task.
Great grass cutting music.
I don't know if I'm good for that. I feel like I wouldn't really cut through. If you've got an electric mower, maybe. But
yeah,
I keep fidgeting with stuff on my desk.
We have 7 user submitted questions. Shout out to our users. We're gonna go ahead and get those out of the way real quick. Some kind of gangster. Question for Luxury Noise. How big is your C86 collection?
It is nothing. There's nothing. I got... Talking about... Wait. What are we talking about?
What is a C86? I'm not a gear person. I wish I were, but I'm not.
It's a cassette compilation. Okay, NME cassettes. Okay, there we go. And no, I don't have shit. I don't have any of those. But
damn,
I'm not that old. I'm not cassettes from NME old.
Cassettes from NME old. Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the fine line.
Disappointing.
That's the fine line.
Quiz. Here's a question. What, if anything, determines your death style?
My lifestyle. Well, no, wait. My lifestyle is determined by my death. My death.
Thank you for decoding what he was talking about. Must be an inside joke.
It's that's some hot mod shit.
Shout out Quiz. Some hot mod shit. Naoko Coed, what is your advice for new artists?
Well, I still feel like a new artist myself as Luxury Noise. But I think, everybody is going to, I'm the worst about it too. Everybody's going to take it personally when they put something they care about out there and everybody doesn't pick it up and say, I love you and I love this that first day. It's hard not to take it personally, and you know, I'm a huge believer in the church of self-validation. Like, don't release it for anybody else. Release something that you have to release and put it out there, and then just do it again. And if everybody doesn't love it, instead of thinking about how everybody didn't love your record, just think, oh man, everybody slept on this, but one day somebody's going to get to discover this and my new thing, and just kind of keep going until you've got a collection of stuff, because by the end of it you'll believe your own bullshit, and you really only have to evangelize yourself, I think, unless you're after money, and then there's a lot of other shit to worry about.
Yeah, well said. If you're trying to turn a profit, you have a lot more like stress ahead of you, and you have to completely change your game plan, it seems. Celadon Dream Suite, question for Luxury Noise. What is the true meaning of Vaporwave to you? With a little trademark symbol.
You know, I think a lot of people fight about this. And I think... I don't know who's in charge of it. For me, what I liked about Vaporwave was there was a part of the scene that really captured my nostalgia in a way that didn't feel like I was being cheesily fed old 80s stuff. It was that
like the
jump
synthwave scene.
Yeah, and suddenly I had like that 90s R&B stuff. And so for me, a lot of the nostalgia of that stuff was it already was my music. And so a lot of the Vaporwave for me, especially growing up with who I said was my stepfather, I was literally around all these like soft jazz guys, and like my parents knew the Rippingtons and shit like that, you know.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
It was that was my music. So Vaporwave for me, when I discovered it, without engaging in anything about the back rooms or the comment on consumer culture or any of that, I just
the anti-capitalist shit.
Yeah, I was like, this is some fucking jams. And I got into it and I vibed. And then I started digging in. I started learning more and more things. But you know, it wasn't like I came at it back rooms and internet chat room lore first. I came at it completely through a Spotify algorithm and gradually kind of like coaxing myself into it and then finding out everybody was real people.
I mean, I think a lot of people found it via like memes or like Vine, Simpson Wave. I mean, nobody's mad about it.
Yeah, and you know, I think that the meaning of Vaporwave is that there always needs to be a new and emergent art form, whatever the cost. And the great thing about the way Vaporwave started, and the way like stuff like Barber Beats continues to carry on, stuff like it. And I don't mean this in any way to be reductive, discussing all the different ways people can make art, but it is an anyone can play party. And I think that's great. It's not that everybody does, and it's not that everybody will be good, but everybody can play. You know, you can jump in the pool and you'll be welcomed for it. Like, you know, it's not like, it's like when Pashnos was on and he was like, yeah, I just fucking learned this shit, you know, just right then and there. And nobody was like, oh, well, you're not legitimate for learning it, you know.
Right.
And there is a lot of music out there where if you didn't worship the canon and come up, you didn't pay your dues, you know, that whole mentality is a very real thing. And and I think that's what Vaporwave is. It's sort of a new electronic punk rock thing happening that
the beginning.
Yeah, a lot of people want it to be
tools
over,
back
but
in the hands of the working class.
I think people want it to be over so that they can quit sometimes. You know, I don't.
I understand that.
Yeah, I don't think it's like. I don't think it's because, like, you know, it's like rock and roll is dead too, man. It's like, no, man, you're just out of touch with the scene. It's what rock and roll is dead is what old people say when they don't go to clubs anymore. And you know, and I think like, you know, a lot of like classic mentalities tend to bend in that direction, and it's just because people are saying, I'm tired, I can't keep up with new shit anymore. You kids are doing it wrong, and they want to move on. But so yeah, for me, Vaporwave, it's a punk rock thing, I guess.
Yeah,
Totally agree. I do love the constant innovation. Never gets old. Even if it means you're moving the cheese, like, it never gets old.
Well, and that's what's great. Like I responded to one thing, and then I see like the younger people coming in and doing stuff. They're just coming from like a fucking place that's totally jacked up to me. They're interacting from their morning happened between 8 and 12 a.m. in a different year of the Cartoon Network than my morning happened with the Cartoon Network.
Damn, well said.
And like you see all that stuff, and their nostalgia is shaped a little bit differently. And I think that's what's cool. And to not be reductive talking about my production thing, the whole thing that I'm always working with all these synthesizers and the things that I'm doing in the studio, because I really did sort of brush over that overly modestly. What I'm always trying to figure out when I'm in the studio is, rather than being a slave to samples, I'm always trying to figure out the atomic structure of my own nostalgia. So like, how does my nostalgia work? What is it? And so like, rather than having to and this is the thing that people do, especially in our scene a lot, that people what they did, man. What they made that fucking shit on a DX7. Fuck, I'm grabbing a DX7. Hell yeah, I got a DX7. And then they get a DX7 and they learn that a DX7 is hell, which is what anyone who had a DX7 before them could have told them. But
I never got the DX7 because I knew I'm not getting this. This synth is difficult to program, and like I feel like I'm going to spend my energy learning a different synth rather than this one. Like I specifically always went out of my way not to get a DX7. I'm like, that D50 is really cool. That's complicated too. I think I'd rather go into that. Yeah, and it's not DX7 is. It's just because like it was like a very commercially available synth at the time, and that's why it got used a lot.
There were a lot of presets for it. Like there's so much about like the late 80s and early 90s synth culture where it's like had great presets. And that was one of them. And people do this and they buy things, and you can chase around like the Juno sound, buying a real Juno, but then you have to have a whole ass Juno in your house, and you've got to pay for a MIDI conversion. Yeah, and you got to get it serviced because the thing wants to die like an old cat. And it's just like, so like you figure out what those sounds really are.
Die like an old cat.
And that's on my mind here at the house right now. We've got a fellow who's in his twilight, and he is difficult in sort of a funny, but he's in a hilarious phase. I know we're all going to be very sad very soon, but he's funny and he's ornery. You can make all those sounds, and so that's sort of what a lot of my production is about. Is I'm chasing after that thing, like, ooh, did this get that feel? Ooh, did this get that feel? And I will go so far as to pull out an XB5080 and fuck with that for a few days, and then put it away, and then try to recreate the patches and things like that. But that's a lot of like my obsession, nostalgia wise.
Sick, I love it. KJ Valium wants to know who your favorite noise artist is.
I am woefully unprepared to talk about noise artists. I don't know anything about like current noise, like I don't even know, like, yeah.
No Mare's Bow.
I make a lot
Lightning
of noise.
Bolts.
Yeah. Luxury.
That's a good
noise.
answer. KJ Valium, nobody likes noise music. Just kidding. What do you guys think about vaporwave being like a subgenre of noise music? Have you ever heard that?
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of strange, right? Luxury Elite, good question. Isaac and Dr. Chris answered this in the beginning of every episode, but now it's your turn. What are 3 albums that you would recommend and why? Doesn't matter if it's current, all-time faves, whatever.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, this is easy. Probably.
Nice.
Or hard. Well, one of them's easy. The first one is that anyone who's never listened to the Pet Shop Boys' Behavior, get on it. It's one of the greatest pop records of all time. It was a sleeper. They recorded it with, what was it, Harold Faltermeyer, the Axel F guy.
Oh, nice.
They used all analog synths. It was like at the end of the 80s, the beginning of the 90s. It's like such a kick-ass, such a great timepiece. Just really awesome record. And they even got Johnny Marr on a couple of tracks. So, and just really cool, vibey stuff. More recently, I might have to pull up my own Spotify, but I've seen people do that on the show, so I think that's totally
Nobody's
acceptable.
mad about it. I'm just glad you're not stumped.
It's, I'm not going to commit to my answers for life. I do think another really good record that more people should check out if they haven't. You know what? No, I'm just going to do old fucking records because it's what I've got.
Do it.
A lot of people don't know where to start with Prince, and they will do Purple Rain, and I have no idea why more people don't start with Diamonds and Pearls or the Symbol album. And Love Sexy too was fucking good. So now I've got 3 records. That's the more. And then a really old thing that more people should check out too, but don't, is The Cure's Robert Smith and Steve Severin from Susie and the Banshees did a thing in the 80s called The Glove that was all sort of built around acid and
Acid the drug or acid the music?
Acid the drug.
I got you.
And so it's a lot of really crazy psychedelic stuff, and they did it with this singer lady named Jeanette Landry. Really neat shit. And that's
So we got Pet Shop Boys, Prince, and what did you say it was called? The Glove?
The Glove.
The Glove. And it's The Cure and Susie from like Susie Sue, right?
Oh, well, it's Steve Severin from Susie.
Oh, my bad.
My
bad.
So
that's
the bass
pretty
player.
sick. Definitely recommend y'all listen to this man. Strip Silence, what is your order of importance in a project? Album art, track names, and music.
Music, then album art, then track names. The names don't always happen at first, unless I have a concept. Like, I knew Esther was called Esther when I started making Esther. But then a lot of songs I have no idea what I'm doing until
I got you. Yeah, some people have some like really, really descriptive track names, and other people it's like, dreams, stuff like that, dirt or whatever,
And I try to rap. I do a lot of like coded meaning in what I'm doing, but usually it's only for my own benefit. I don't know if necessarily anything's ever going to universally translate. I don't have anybody be like, that's about his holy shit, Paul's thinking about this thing. I don't think anybody's going to do that with my music. But,
right. And it's
like
the beautiful thing about it is it's so subjective. Like it might create an entirely like vivid dream sequence-esque experience in somebody's mind, and you'll be like, damn, like that is the furthest thing from what I was thinking about when I made this, That's one of the beautiful things about instrumental music that I love. You can talk to people about what the music video in your head looks like.
I prefer instrumental music pretty much all the time. All the time. I don't even know like when it started. I feel like the late 90s you started having like all the post-rock bands.
Yeah.
That you could hear. Like you had Tortoise and you had
it's kind of around that time that things start to pick up a little bit more. Just and then I would say that like by the late 2000s and then absolutely by 2010s, like I was really much more gravitating towards the idea of emotions through textures and creatively programming noises and sound I'd never heard as a way to express how I felt or show how I felt, and more than lyrics at that point.
I realized too, like the whole reason I've been working with singers, and this is gonna sound so shitty, and I don't mean it to sound shitty, but it was because they were like the fall guy. Somebody had to get up there and read bad love poetry, and so it might as well not be me, And I'll play guitar. I'll be a hot shit guitar player, and then and they can say stuff that everybody's already said 3 million times.
Oh my god, that's a hot take.
Is that a hot take? I guess you're right. Sorry.
No, you don't owe me no apology, bud.
I love a good dumb pop song as much as anybody, but I didn't want to be I've never wanted to be the person to be like, and this is the story of how much I love you. Like that's not.
I mean,
lyrics don't have to just.
You
be
have
that.
you have a song.
No.
My favorite song that you've ever made has the line. This. What is it? It's probably like a sampled. Well, I can't remember what it is.
I do songs with
just me being me.
do songs with singing and lyrics too occasionally, but
No, and I
Oh, dude.
I can't sing, and I don't want to say it. Is what I mean. Like, it's not to put down the poetry. It's that
Soft replica
I
got
don't.
it. Thank you.
I don't have the. I don't know. That's not my way. I don't feel like I'm doing my art if I'm out there doing that. If that makes sense. Like,
Yeah, I totally
some
get it,
people
yeah.
sing and that's their art, and it's different when somebody really connects to their own lyrics. But for me, I'm like, look at that. It's like I might as well be like talking about gravy. You know, it's just like it's not real to me.
Dying cats.
Oh, that gravy song, sir.
The song about gravy is a fucking hit. And
People are-
I just can't.
People are crucifying me in the chat. The line is, "Thank you,
What?
Soft Replica. You've been on my mind," and then it
Oh,
just kind
yeah.
of repeats mind.
And I
But
use
it's kinda
samples
sung.
because I
It's
can't
not-
sing. No, and I mean,
oh, it's a sample. No way.
Yeah, then the new record is pretty much almost constantly me doing that, of leading a track with some kind of samples that I've cut up or whatever, because I like the vocal textures. I love it, and
Yeah.
I think it
You
gives it
use some great
more-
effects on them too.
And I like to do that. I don't know. I like to make somebody say something they didn't say. One of the new tracks.
It's just like when you made Roseanne talk to Webster.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
Nice.
and that's the full circle of it. Is that yeah? There's a little bit of instrument playing, and then there's a whole bunch of dumb playing with audio.
I think you need to sample Webster now for a song.
You know, I waited on Webster once.
Waited on
And,
the actor. You like,
Emmanuel
served him.
Lewis.
You
Yeah,
served him.
at a Longhorn Steakhouse. He came in
A
late.
Longhorn
No way.
steak. He came in- What?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Tell
I
me
used to
about
work at
this
Longhorn
story.
Steakhouse.
Tell
So
me.
he likes. He used to hang out around Cobb County, Georgia area, which
All right.
that's where I am originally from. And I was back there after leaving UGA before I went back to UGA to work. And I was waiting tables at a Longhorn Steakhouse, and Emmanuel Lewis came out, and they're like, "Hey, Paul, we sat Webster in your section." I'm like, "Ah, thanks. It's fucking closed." And Webster hung out till pretty late, to be honest. He hung out till pretty late. He wasn't that polite. And then I was talking to a girl I was seeing at the time afterwards. I was like, "Yeah, I waited on fucking Webster tonight. He wasn't very nice." And she was like, "Oh, he's really rude to me, and he slapped me on the ass the other day because
Holy
she was
shit.
working at Dave and
Damn,
Buster's.
that's pretty rude.
She got slapped
Oh
on the
my
ass.
god.
Listen, that's her
Wow.
word. You know, like, I'm not here to defame. I'm not here to defame.
Was he a good tipper?
I'm not gonna say he was a good tipper.
I'm not gonna say.
But
he was
I'm
a
not
good
gonna
tipper.
say he was a bad tipper. I'm just not
Yeah.
just.
Yeah, wow. Oh, wow.
He just didn't
You
care.
heard
a
it
whole lot.
here on
Yeah, heard it on Hot
Take.
Takes.
He didn't seem to care a whole lot for the laments of the service staff
The common
at
man.
closing time.
Damn.
Yeah.
Econo
Webster
Jazz.
forgot some shit, man.
Econo Jazz.
I'm not surprised. I knew this was going to work out well for Webster when she told me that he waited out.
Right,
I knew,
don't
like,
meet
you're,
your
you're going to
heroes.
get. Never meet your heroes.
Econo Jazz. Question: do you feel that deadlines help or hinder your creative process, Luxury Noise?
We're gonna find out because I just came off of a year. I did a year of singles, and then I set up this deadline for myself to finish this thing. And now after this record is done and out, all I'm gonna worry about deadline wise is shows and sets for a while, and just kind of float and see what happens. And we'll see if a record gets done. Because I feel like the deadlines are the only reason that I get done. But we'll see. Because I seem to keep doing stuff.
There you go.
True. Patch notes.
Econo Jazz
Mr.
knows 'cause he
Noise.
spent the deadlines.
Econo Jazz is a real one. Patch notes wants to know what the best way to prepare a parlor pizza is.
I saw that question come up earlier.
What's with all these inside jokes? What is a parlor pizza?
Well, it means a French bread pizza. And what you do is you microwave it for a minute, and then you throw it in the air fryer. I believe that is the correct answer. I should have
Wait a
known
minute.
that was going to be the question.
What do you just take a piece of French bread and put like some pepperoni and some cheese on it?
Have you never had a French bread pizza?
No. What is it?
Oh, Stouffer's makes these deliciously shitty. It's just a piece of French bread with some crappy sauce. It's horrible. It's awesome.
It's
I
got to be
love
better
them.
than Totino's.
Quiz. We're talking about French bread pizzas. Parlor pizza.
Soft replica Parlor Pizza's that one social media app, right? Oh my God.
Kanye was gonna buy that shit, but then he walked away.
Oh, I believe it. Celadon Dream Suite with an additional question. Do you have an album or track that you've created that means a lot to you personally, more than anything else you've created?
Esther. Esther is it was my grandmother.
Wow.
She passed away. We all went to see her for her 90th birthday right before the pandemic, and then she passed away during 2021. And her and my grandfather were they were the people in the family who came and saw me when I was sort of in this down and out phase where I'd been like, oh, I'm going to be a musician. And I was like, oh, that's a stupid idea. And they weren't wrong, but I was going to do it anyway. And my grandparents came to me one day when I was working at Longhorn Steakhouse. It all ties together. And they said, you know, they were just basically like, you know, we didn't always have it together either. And you just need to go follow your star. And sure, maybe your dad's mad at you right now, but it'll pass. We were mad at him once too, you know. And
That's funny.
And they kind of pushed me, and they came over from England with Lockheed in the '60s, and that is why we are here in America. And
Gotcha.
And so I just and Esther was just sort of a track that I dedicated to her, and that I was thinking a lot about her while I made it. And so, yeah, that's probably the song I have that means the most to me currently.
Damn, that's really
out.
beautiful, dog.
There is a better song that means more that is coming.
Y'all, I can't wait to hear that shit. Y'all run up the views and the listens. Well, not views, but y'all check out Esther. If anyone wants to link that shit, please do so. And with this next question, we'll be caught up. So you guys, if you have questions, please light up the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to shoot from the hip. Roge Corp, Mr. Noise, will you be in attendance at Midwest Aesthetic?
That's like next month, and things are not looking good for me right now. Yeah,
I was hoping I would see you again.
No, well, you will.
I will. And
but,
maybe this time I won't meet you in line and stand immobile for like 30 minutes hoping to get something to eat. Shout out Indy Advant and Data Girl for surviving.
A part of my soul died in that line. That was a terrible time in my life.
Bro.
Just waiting.
Do you remember when that kid came up to it? He was just like, hey, there's nothing left, guys. If you're behind this person, you ain't getting nothing. And
I'm surprised that he made it back to his little cart, you know.
I know, right?
I wanted to strangle him. That was not well handled. I felt like there should have been like a 30-minute warning or something. So it was odd.
Yeah.
But coulda, woulda, shoulda. Talking about.
Yeah, I get it.
It was a good time. That was a good night, with the exception of that moment.
Yeah, I really would.
And then I did get tacos after that, and they were fucking really good. I don't know if it was because I was so hungry, but it was like the best tacos.
Dude, I had the same thing happen to me after the second Electronicon. Skelly blew up my phone going, hey, you're going to play the after party, while I was drunk as a motherfucker watching Televape. And I was like, oh no, I need to sober up if I'm going to play. And then right after the show, I got some like street tacos, or like those, you know, hot dogs that have like bacon wrapped around them that somebody's abuelita was making on the side of the street, and they were fucking phenomenal.
Nice.
We got patch notes. Mr. Noise, what was your favorite Coast to Coast Collective show?
I really liked the last one. I thought the last one was the timing was good, and it just fit together, and I gave up. That show. Patch Notes did all the interstitials instead of me that time, and it was awesome for me. Not just because I got out of it, but because I loved what we got, and I loved the theme he did with you. I can't sing. See, I told you. That's why we don't do that in Luxury Noise. And yeah, there will be a new pretty soon I'm going to tell everybody that there's a new, but we're not. Yeah, there'll be a new Coast to Coast soon, and we'll all talk about that soon.
Yay! You're gonna have to find a way to make it about fall.
Yeah, I know. That's the summer's a little bit crowded right now. We were gonna do Pacific Summer.
That
too,
is true.
but,
This summer is popping.
If I was like, hey everybody, give
Looks
me
like
a
the fall's
set
gonna
for
be
this
popping
summer.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Soft Replica, actual question. What is Luxury Noise's thoughts on the phrase never meet your heroes?
I mean, it depends on the heroes.
No, you know,
One
so
time
the
I met a
Montreal
guy
guys were
who's
pretty cool.
what now?
The Montreal guys were pretty cool.
Yeah,
True.
And like while I was out with them, I met one night we were Yip Deceiver, and I was playing guitar in Yip Deceiver for the first couple of tours, and we were doing a South by Southwest show, and I looked up in the middle of my set, and or in the middle of our set, and Davey's mouth was hanging open, and I looked over at what Davey was looking at, and it was Danny Pudi, Abed from Community was standing right there. And I thought I had seen him going into the club before our set, but I was like, that's crazy. Why would Abed be at our show? That's stupid. And so I like moved on, and then he like saw that we saw, and he was like cool, and he hung around after the show, and he was super cool. And the next night, he and Donald Glover they took Davey with them to Kanye, like just like great people. And I've met a lot of really awesome, cool, famous people, and I met some super duper shitbags who are just the worst people in the world. So I don't think it's never meet your heroes. It's probably like
names.
Evaluate which heroes you want. I can't. If I start talking that shit, that's how Paul Nunn loses Paul Nunn's work.
Damn. Well, I'm not going to have your blood on my hands.
Then you'll really be lonely, Paul.
That's right. And that would actually be my going back. There was a question earlier. What would my advice be to new artists? Don't fuck people over. Paul don't get none was a big one when I was a kid. Don't fuck people over, and like don't, if you're entrusted with secret information, keep it. Like that, I think that's like one of the biggest things that people do to identify themselves as not fit for private information. And when you're not fit for private information, you're not going to be a part of someone's record launch. You're not going to be a part of this. You're not going to be a part of a special thing. You got to be able to hold your secrets. Hold your secrets. It's exciting to know things, but more exciting not to blow that. So those are like the little things.
George Clanton says he can keep it a secret, but Death Dynamic Shroud says to tell you the secret. So what you're saying is we should listen to George Clanton.
Hey, I'm not saying, but
Nope.
if there's anything I hear that guy being criticized for, it's for being a businessman. And
damn,
I'm kidding. I don't know.
So
he's clever.
I'm gonna shoot from the hip for the next 15 minutes. I want to know what you think about covers and remixes. Good, bad, little this, little of that.
Covers, shaky.
True.
What are you covering? Why are you covering it? What are you doing with it? Is it a reenactment? Do you have a statement to make with it?
Fair.
No reason not to do it. And I'm saying that I used to do every Halloween we did in a band I was in called Push. We did a Cure tribute show for a couple of years, and then we would do like 80s New Order and stuff like that kind of songs shows. And so I like a good cover. It's fun to play a cover. Release a cover, I don't know so much. You better have a statement to make. Remixes, fucking awesome forever. Remixes can be their own songs.
I love remixes, dude.
It's how I find people. Remixes are, how you learn that so and so is involved with so and so, and you can, even if that's not true, like it's like as though Boards of Canada are involved with anybody, but they do occasionally come out of their cave and they remix somebody's stuff out of nowhere, and that can just be a cool nod to know what to go listen to next.
Yeah,
like that Mr. Mistake song. Yeah, man.
I love
technically, I think I discovered vaporwave due to. I guess technically I discovered George and 18 Karat Affair at the same time. 18 Karat Affair was doing remixes of like Andre Oben and Mirror Kisses, and I was like, damn.
I remember when he did that.
Yeah, he really did a great flip of Team Follow. I think remixes breathe a lot of like new life into work, and of course we're fans of sample-based content, right? Which is another form of remixing, but I'm glad to hear the love of remixing, man.
And with covers, I hate sounding like judgy about it. I just mean I feel like a cover has to have a justification of some sort when you're recording it. It's like I don't know. I always
it's hard to do a good cover.
The Pet Shop Boys, when they did was it Always on My Mind, it also went into Can't Take My Eyes Off of You, and that was pretty fucking cool. And that's like, oh, we have a spin, we're gonna do this with it. Or no, that was Where the Streets Have No Name that went into Can't Take My Eyes Off of You. And then You Were Always on My Mind was just You Were Always on My Mind. Sorry Pet Shop Boys.
Oh no, you're good.
But I like stuff like that, I think there's always room for interpretations, and I don't know, I think people should do whatever the fuck they want, and I love a good edit. I feel like more people should be doing edits. I wish we had like a pool of kick-ass DJ edits all the time.
Bet.
I feel like a lot of our artists that we know around here would be really exceptional.
That's something Pacific Plaza has heralded, and that I thoroughly agree that there need to be like more like DJ ready edits of vaporwave songs. And absolutely, I've been thinking about that a lot lately. We do need a record pool for vaporwave and future funk. Hard agree. Yeah, I was literally thinking about that the other day, like how do we get that rolling? Don't know.
I mean, are there lo-fi house record pools that I don't know about?
That's a good question, man. There are so many tracks, and I'm sorry to cut you off, as you and I are both big fans. There are so many lo-fi house tracks that you can't get like lossless unless you buy the fucking 12-inch vinyl, or you get it on, I don't know, where do you buy lossless audio when the shit's not on Bandcamp,
I don't know, but those lo-fi house artists, they want to get paid. They're
yeah. And they never release albums. I swear to God, Ross from Friends, DJ Seinfeld, and DJ Sabrina are the only people who've released like a fucking full length. The rest of them, it's like, here's 4 tracks. But it's usually good. You could rip it, but then it'll be like low quality. You don't want to play that on a Void sound system or whatever.
InRail definitely. InRail's just saying he's in the DJ edit zone. InRail would be someone who I would say is doing more than their fair share of the edits in the game.
Oh yeah, shout out InRail. He's getting some huge W's these days.
I know, fuck, man. Every time I look up, there's some social media clip of him playing to a crowd of thousands, and it's wild.
He's
shit.
touring with the. Is he touring with the InRail series? Is he tour with Shrek Rave now?
InRail's playing SpongeBob Bubble raves, like Shrek raves.
He tour with it?
He like quit his job, and like that's what he does now, and he's getting paid.
Cool. He actually, I saw that. That's amazing. I saw that on his Instagram.
Performer.
I was like, whoa, that's so fun.
I saw him posting for the Masquerade the other day. I was like, InRail's in my old digs. Oh, so I get excited about that shit.
Poor dude hates flying too, so he's like biting the bullet, but he's, I don't want to say living the dream, but he's doing better than. Yeah,
it's
proud
fun.
of him.
It's fun. It's cool.
Paul, what actor artist have you loved for the longest amount of time?
The longest, most consistent, man, it's gonna be XTC.
Okay.
It's always gonna be XTC. Yeah, consistently.
Nice.
I always go back to them every year for some reason. Andy Partridge is a fucking cool genius. I love the way he's like all hermity and he didn't even want to play live. Like, I don't know. I just love that kind of. I like someone who's so pure in what they want to do that they will throw off an entire industry and millions of dollars to do it the way they want to do it. And he absolutely was like, Golden Goose, fuck you. I'm staying home in my garden and writing songs about being English. And I just think it's awesome.
I love it. Are there any cool, like exceptionally cool stories you can share with us that happened either while touring or like at a live show that you performed in?
I mean, yeah. What kind of story are we thinking here?
I mean, we're gonna have to like categorize these stories into their own genres, huh? Just
like,
yeah, anything you want to tell us. You can tell us multiple stories. We got time. 20 minutes left.
So one time, this is just cool, like me being awesome superhero story. So we were doing this festival called North Coast in Chicago, and it was like summer, rainy day. It was weird, kind of in the park setup, and so like we were over here, and like there was another stage across from us, and I think that's where I saw Bass Nectar later on.
Damn.
But in between it was wild. Thievery Corporation were playing. It was a weird festival. It was like all over the place, and so in the middle of it was up Montreal, and we had a big run so that we could do, it was big crowd times for up Montreal at that point, and so we were gonna do the thing where David and Liz go out in the raft. And for anyone who's never been to an Up Montreal show, there's a lot of stage
it's very
actors
theatrical.
and people doing weird shit, and there's crowd surfing more often than not. At that point there was anyway, and there was like even at one point during the wrestler tour, and Isaac, I think you're saying you saw this one, there would be a battle royale at the end of the show, and the entire band would dive off the stage and crowd surf their way off of the stage, and then all come back, and then we'd do a hoedown. And okay, yeah, this is actually a fun story. So we would do a hoedown, and I would come out and I would start everybody singing the doing the Pledge of Allegiance, I think it was, and then Kishibashi would come out and start playing Yankee Doodle on his violin, and then everybody would come out. We would do a big hoedown, and we had just started doing this on the Controller Sphere tour. And I've totally ditched this North Coast story. We'll come back to it. We just started doing that on the Controller Sphere tour, and we did it in DC at the 930 Club. We did it in New York, I think, next, and then we were doing it for the third night in Boston on the night that they killed Bin Laden.
Oh, wild.
Wow.
So I went out and I did it, and the crowd is very into it. Like, the crowd is like really, really into it. Like, we have been like, I don't know about this whole fucking hoedown. David Barnes was really into this idea. He was watching Glenn Beck at the time, and this is back when Glenn Beck was like lead fear guy at Fox News. And David was really fascinated with this idea. Like, he thought it was just so interesting that some people thought they could be more American than other people. And so that was sort of what we structured all of the tour antics around, was like the whole wrestling thing. All of it was just this sort of like, this is what you look like about politics and fighting. And then at the end we'd have a big thing. And then we'd get a bunch of hipster kids to do the pledge and be patriotic and shit,
Oh,
and
man. Unreal.
So we did it. And they were like super fucking into it. We're like, well, this is going a lot better than we thought. So then I get off the stage and I'm like, I'm out back afterwards and I'm having a cigarette, and some kids walk up and they're like, how did you guys know so fast? It's like, what? They killed Bin Laden. You guys knew, right? That's why y'all did that.
Funny.
And so like all these kids thought we were geniuses who like did this, like, and
Unbelievable.
I love the idea that, like that means people on the stage can like call an audible and be like, they killed Bin Laden, we're gonna do a hoedown. That would have been
Right, like you just decided
How
that
did you guys
you just
know?
pivoted like that.
Amazing.
It is
That's
fascinating
so
what you can
funny.
say across a set of in-ear monitors. But it was just that. So anyway, I was telling a story about the North Coast, and this will be the last story. I probably got better stories than this, but this is a fun story.
It'll come to you. You can do a Twitter thread later.
There, a thread. Times I will never ever do that. I tried never to speak about this whole thing when I first was doing all this, because I didn't want to be. I didn't want luxury noise to have anything to do with Of Montreal, because it doesn't. Of Montreal is entirely Kevin's product. You know, all of that stuff was sort of like, I might be older than a lot of people in our scene, but I was a baby in the Elephant Six. Like, when all of that stuff was happening, I was watching, I was aware, I was in town, I was not part of their gang. I joined up after a video. So I just never ever wanted anyone to make the mistake of like, that guy's from Vermont. No, fuck no, I'm not. I worked for them, and they are some friends of mine. So I never talked about that. But so we're doing a show at North Coast, and we send David and Liz out on the raft. And there was this stage manager named Redbird, who was running that festival stage. And he just comes up to me, and he was like, "Are they coming back?" And I was like, "Yeah, the raft always comes back." And he was like, "Okay, but..." And he pointed over, and right in front of the stage, and for some reason we really just hadn't noticed, the side that they were coming back towards, there was the crowd barrier, and then there was a little jut where it went in where security were, and and that was how the raft had gone out. But they were coming back towards what worked out to be about an 8 to 10 foot drop off between the crowd barricade and the stage, and the raft was about to go into that. So I did a jump that I have never done before or since. Because David and Liz were about to come to that edge, and I ran and I jumped down to receive the raft. I somehow didn't break anything. I caught this rail, flung up, and then I like grabbed all of these kids. I was like, "Hey, we have to turn that raft around, or they're gonna go in that hole." And all these kids like got together with me, and like we turned the raft, and we like got the crowd. We were like, "No, we gotta get it that way." And I made eye contact with David and Liz, and they were like, "Oh shit!" And so they were like, "This way," and we got it sent back around. And we got it through, and then I died, just like hung there on the rail, because I had used all of the adrenaline that had ever been in my body at that point. And I was just laying there,
shit!
And so I'm just like hanging on the rail, and the crowd's like, "You are the fucking coolest person I've ever seen. You flew across the room," and it was awesome. And then Redbird came up afterwards. He was like, "If you ever need a job in Chicago, man, you got work." And it was pretty cool. So it was a fun hero moment. Probably some of my funniest stories I would save for private, because there's a lot of people's privacy out there in the world.
Yeah, true.
But yeah.
How important is fan feedback to you?
It's awesome, but I don't think I've ever gotten what I would say was negative fan feedback.
Oh.
Like, nobody's ever been like, "Hey man, I don't like what you're doing now." The only times that I ever hear from anybody, "Hey man," you know,
you changed your sound, and I don't like it.
I don't like you very much.
I just don't like where you're at anymore.
You never got the random eat shit and die DM?
You know,
thought that happened to everybody.
Haters, whenever I have a hater, they sort of plot against me. You know, it's
shit.
more.
They do the long con.
Yeah, I know how to make quality enemies.
Wow.
You know?
You only have villains for enemies.
You got to step it up. You got to have a nemesis. But whenever I get nice things, it's so. It is so cool when people actually take the time out of their day to listen to you. When they go the next step and they actually send you something and they tell you what they do while they listen to your music. It's, you know, I love that shit. I used to make music as Lonely Paul, and nobody ever fucking listened to that music. I get a check from it every year because somebody like stuck it in a commercial or something, and I had content ID on it before I knew not to do that. But
what commercial is it in?
It was like I think there's a couple of different things that are
Dog
using
suppository?
it. It's I
dog
don't know,
suppository. What the
it's
fuck?
Not here.
Somebody clip that.
But I would get
damn Skelly
emails
like a dying cat. Dog suppositories.
Moniker because of the
Oh, I thought you meant it was a commercial about dog suppositories.
That's what I was saying. It was that's what he's been used for.
Quiz goes, wait, you toured with dog suppository?
It's an underserved market.
That's his favorite noise artist, dog suppository.
Yeah, we'll take that.
That just amuses me, the idea of like, use this commercial. What was that? Dog suppositories.
Hey, at least it's not like one of those fucking Volkswagen commercials, right? That's like the stereotype. What's your favorite physical medium?
Dog suppository.
Yeah, it works for everything, doesn't it?
Fucking unreal.
I love vinyl. I just like vinyl. It's fun. It's big. You can keep it in your house. I don't like to have a whole lot of it though. Like I'll never be a comprehensive collector because I have this whole morbid fixation all the time with dying and people having to haul shit out of my house. And like the big vinyl collection, that's when they're just like hauling for days, and that just depresses the shit out of me. So I have to have like if
you're depressed more about the idea of people moving stuff out of your house than death itself.
Yeah. It's so embarrassing.
What?
It's so embarrassing. Like you just couldn't.
Like, what are you worried about?
Is it?
Like, was this guy always on fucking Amazon? You know, like I just picture people being like, "What was he into?" I don't know. I think there's some family experiences with that where I don't want to be taking dog suppositories out of my house long after I'm dead, you know.
We found another one.
I want people to be like, that was a tidy and orderly collection of dog suppositories Luxury Noise had, and then, you know, and that'll be on my headstone. What a lovely collection of dog suppositories. Not too many, not too few.
Not too many, not too few. Just right now. The real Goldilocks style. Yeah, you gotta beat me to it.
Do you consider yourself an introvert, an extrovert, or a secret third thing?
Secret third thing.
Everyone's a secret third thing. Feels more like an extrovert to me.
Well, I think
agreed.
I don't think that I think the static state is a myth. You know, I think people like, I'm an introvert. I am an introvert.
What if I told you I'm an introvert? Everybody says that.
And I don't want to go out, you know, all the time, and I don't want to be in all the time. And when I have to be on, I'm on. Yeah, it's such a weird black and white idea that we got into, and I feel like what is it, the Myers-Briggs test? Like,
what's your Myers-Briggs? Where you like an ENTP or INTP or something?
If you take depending, I'm either an ENTP or an INTP, depending on what my state of mind is when I take the test. Yeah. If I've been like ENTJ.
You're an ENTJ.
I've been an ENTJ.
I mean, I'm like part INTJ, part. Wait a minute. No, I'm half and half thinking feeling. So ENTJ, ENFJ.
I can see you being ENFJ. You really do consider people a lot.
I don't know how I'm an ENTJ. Like, I'm not like a leaderly type. I don't know how.
ENFJ is leaderly too, but they're usually like doing what you do, like putting together.
Shit, where's the? Sorry, guys.
Leadership isn't necessarily a being in charge thing. I think anybody who rallies together communities and gets people to do things or show up somewhere is a leader, one way or another.
I think you're an ENFJ.
Yeah, I'm always afraid I'm going to fuck something up. I'd rather be the behind-the-scenes guy. I'd rather be the lonely Paul of your Vaporwave show. All right. Well, what is something that you think that would make the average Vaporwave live show better?
I think we should always have visual artists. Just always.
Great fucking answer.
It's the one thing that's
what All Hell Breaks Loops is doing. He's doing it well too.
Yeah,
that's great. We gotta get him on soon.
Oh yeah.
I keep forgetting.
You already told me you would.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we all just need to, like, I don't know, find a way to like collect our regional visualists and take care of them and get them, you know, make them as big of the scene as anything else, because it's such a huge thing.
We've definitely tried to appreciate our visualists on Hot Takes, and we could do better, especially the ones that provide live visuals. You know, there's so many. I couldn't even like name them all, but they're all so skilled.
That's we gotta get more on there, don't we?
Yeah,
that's what we gotta do.
Especially, I would love, I mean, you know, any one of us can come on here and say something pretty cool about synthesizers, but the people who are doing the video synthesis and the people who are already cracking the codes of the 13 different weird rigs to figure all that shit out, Have them on here to talk shop.
We
Let's
should
learn.
get like video punks on here or something, shouldn't we?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do that.
One last question before we go into our outro. What do you think we should do to make hot takes better?
Oh, Ming Curie. We gotta get Ming Curie on. That's what we gotta.
Yeah,
get on.
we do.
Of course. Yeah.
There's a very obvious person. What do I think y'all should do to
Obviously.
make the show
Yeah,
better?
what would you do to improve this show?
I love it every week. I love the hangout thing. I think I mean I wouldn't even say like changing something to be better. I would say lean into all the strengths. I think this show has become for me like the regular streaming appointment I still keep.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it means a lot. I mean, I'm starting to sound like a broken record every time I jump in your DMs.
Did you say like a theme song? We should do that.
Yeah, let's commission Dan Mason to make us a little 15 to 30 second jangle.
A jangle.
It's time for hot takes.
I really like your Dan Mason impression.
Oh
Yeah.
no, that wasn't a Dan Mason impression, but someday
That
I
was
will.
better than when I sang earlier, though. That was definitely better than when I sang. I don't even remember what I was saying.
Y'all definitely got to check out his new album. It's flames.
I haven't
All
listened
right.
to that yet. Oh my god, I gotta do that today.
Yeah, with artwork from our very own B Fant.
I know. Gotta do that.
We got 5 minutes left,
Night.
and you know what we do. We like to let you promote or shout out or say anything you want to say.
Well, shout out to everybody in Coast to Coast Collective. Shout out to Pacific Plaza and Alex, who is wonderful and patient and supportive, no matter how much of a pain in the ass I'm being. And shout out to everybody at Hot Takes, Lux and Strip Silence, Liz and the Quiz and the whole gang that I hang out with and chat all the time. I love talking to y'all all the time.
Some good people in that server.
Yeah, I feel really blessed. I feel like I've found all my people, and I don't know. I've been really lucky. I've got a new record coming out very soon. I cannot tell you the date because I have to send it out this week, and I'm going to have someone else master it because that's how much I believe in this record. I want someone else to make all of the decisions at the end, so that it can be as good as it can be. And then that will be out probably on a label that I may have just said. And no, it's not a secret. It's going to be on Pacific Plaza. So
shout out.
And the and then Coast to Coast new stuff. We will all figure that out soon, and hopefully a lot of people here will be involved. And that's it. Soft replica, device operator, patch notes. Thank you all the time for every time that you at any hour will go through and listen to my demos. And also sometimes EconoJazz has to do it as well. And Isaac, who is right here in front of me. Yeah, it is. I always have like the Council of Design and the Council of Music who just sort of check out my shit and tell me if I'm on crack or not. And I appreciate that. So that's everything.
Are we allowed to know who's mastering your album?
They don't even know yet. They're just
they don't
get
know.
it in their little Dropbox. Yeah. So
sick.
And we'll find out how long. I know they're very busy, which probably gives you a good idea of who it is. So,
I mean, I know who it is, and it's going to be good.
Yeah. I think it's the right person to do it.
I think Chris would co-sign as well.
Oh, have I used them before?
I don't know. I think you had Alex master one of your albums.
Alex? From who?
Fiber. Didn't you have Fiber master one of your albums?
Fiber remastered Glows and Notes.
Remastered. Nice.
I've had Fiber master things for me. I've had Angel
Oh
master
yeah.
things for me.
And tomorrow
Back master things for me.
Oh, sick. What's tomorrow?
Lux is right. Tomorrow, one of the tracks from the upcoming record will appear in a form on her show. And there is my wife in the chat. That is Bunnytron.
Aw, thanks for the follow, Bunnytron.
My way more talented.
Has she been listening the whole time, or did she like literally show up?
How long have you been together with Bunnytron?
We met backstage at the last of Montreal show I worked.
Oh, wow.
She was oh shit, we like have no time. She was in Nina and Arinda Fink's thing Haruki Zombie, and and she just walked right up and introduced herself to me, and then we didn't see each other again until this rooftop show a few months later, and then we ran into each other at South by, and we got together, and that was in 2012.
Wow, so 10 years?
Yeah, and we got married in 2019.
Oh man, I was a huge
Wow.
Azure Ray fan back in the day. I was like,
the
why does
trick?
that name sound so familiar?
Oh yeah, Orenda. And
What's the trick?
Sick.
what now?
What's the trick?
What trick?
How you keep it together?
Oh, we have separate lives, you know, and I support her and she supports me, and like, she doesn't give two shits about, like, I don't mean it like not like she doesn't like it or she doesn't support me, but
Think it'd be
she's
kinda
not
jazz.
like she doesn't live or die on what I do as Luxury Noise, but she knows it makes me happy and she supports me, and she does like barbershop choir, and she's a badass media journalist, and she goes and she does her thing, and then we just hang out and we enjoy our lives together, and we love our pets, and we have common goals, you know. I don't know.
Adorable.
It just, and we check in. It's not like we haven't had rocky times, but you figure out, I don't know, you communicate honestly at the moment when you have to figure out if you want what you both want, and that way you know what I'm saying. It's hard. I think it's hard to like be open with another person, but once you start doing it, it gets really easy, and then after that you just get to where you're more comfortable when they're around.
Nice.
And so that's what she is for me. Whatever, my lobster or something, I think people say.
Good.
Luxury Noise, everybody. You heard it on Hot Takes. Skelly, do you have anything new coming up?
Yeah. July 28th is the next Eclipse party. That is the Dark Synth Witch House Wave Funk Dance Party. That's going to be on the 28th in the 700 Club in Philadelphia. Aside from that, Helios. When's that again, guys?
Do we have a date on Helios? I don't think we do.
Okay, well, I'm going to finish my set for that. That'll be coming up soon. And I think I'm like pretty much done this Skeleton Lipstick album now. I'll listen to it one more time and we send it out finally. 7/3 right of it. Doesn't sound like anything else I've ever done.
I don't trust you.
I don't trust me either. That's true. But actually, this time I do. This time I do. It's really good.
I'm excited. I'm excited about it.
It doesn't sound like anything else I've ever done. It's more, yeah, that's good. That's probably not talks.
Oh, I've been muted. Lovely. Don't know how long I've been muted.
I don't know.
The 22nd and 23rd of July, I was definitely muted when that came up. That is when Helios is going to be. And I've got a set, too. It's a Cloud Rap set. 20 minutes. No Bones, no Xavier Wolf, no Young Lean, no Blady. And I still managed to make it work. And it's not bad, if I do say so myself. Just sent off a set for Digital Sex's upcoming live stream event. He hasn't announced when, but he's got a great lineup. And I did a 20-minute set of like deep house and down-tempo stuff. Managed to mix a Luzine track in with Ground is Lava and a Late Arcane flip of a Soft Replica track, along with some like dream punk towards the end. And I made it work, and I damn near tore my hair out. Shout out Lux for putting up with me doing like several takes and just wailing about how stressed I was, but it's good. It's a great set. Yeah, it opens with Ground is Lava's song with Baths. What's it called? Suicide Mission. Anyways, some great live events. Midwest Aesthetic, Madison, Wisconsin, July 29th. I'll be opening for Luxury Elite, Fire Tools, Vape Error, Sound Market, and some other lovely people who for some reason I'm not remembering at the moment, but some great live shows coming up after that as well that have just not been announced yet and that I'm not at liberty to discuss yet. So great plans too, especially in that like Midwesty kind of area. And with that being said, we're going to conclude tonight's episode. Thank you guys again for tuning in. We are going to run an ad for Neon Knight's Friends and Family episode tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern. I don't remember the exact YouTube URL because I have the memory of a goldfish. So if you want to link that up, Lux, we've got an exclusive track by Luxury Noise, tracks by lots of people in the chat. Definitely be there. You won't regret it. It'll be lots of fun. And join us in 2 weeks. That's June 19th at 9 p.m. Eastern for a very special episode with Data Girl. Thank you guys again, and if you like hot takes, consider following us on social media, consider donating, and definitely consider listening to the Spotify playlists and jumping in the Discord server. For everyone who joined tonight, we love you, and we love Luxury Noise more than everybody. Just kidding.
Thanks, y'all, for having me.
Thanks so much for being here. Good night.
Right.